constant access to noise that is abnormal for your dog throughout the Christmas period can lead to trigger stacking, which is more likely to lead to behavioral changes that are undesirable during that time period. So by this, I mean noise sensitivity, not necessarily to like big loud noises, but to a constant stream of auditory information. So this is, if you have a house full of kids, this is probably less relevant to you guys because they're used to that noise. However, for example, in my house, it's me. I'm self-employed. I work most of the day at my laptop. It's not particularly exciting. My partner works out. He and I work pretty much opposite shifts. So throughout the week, we are rarely in the house at the same time. We tend not to have guests over back to back to back. We tend to have guests over sort of one at a time. And if we are going to have guests over, it will sort of be once that week. It's very rare we have, outside of Christmas, it's very rare we have more guests throughout the week. So in our house, it is quite quiet. We've got neighbours that we need to be considerate of. So we have to keep noise to a minimum, just like daily life. And if we were to go into a household where there were, all of a sudden, family members singing, TV's on all the time, people going in and out, kids running around, kids' toys that are making lots and lots of noise, and just constant sort of information in terms of adults laughing, kids screaming and having fun, TV on, other dogs barking maybe, different sounds of a different neighbourhood if we've moved to a different house. That's an awful lot of information that can actually cause our dogs to get stressed, lead to trigger stacking, and lead to a behavioural output that we're not so keen on. So by giving our dogs quiet breaks, we can stop that input for a little bit and just give your dog the rest they need. So I always find if I've been to London for a few days, there's a lot of information, just all of London, but it's quite a lot of auditory, especially in terms of traffic and things like tubes and things like that. When I lived in London, it was normal. Now that I live in the countryside, I can deal with it for a day or two, and I always find my first few dog walks when I've come back from London, I find so relaxing and quiet, and I can feel my body go, oh, thank God there's no more noise. So it is really important to offer those quiet breaks. Obviously, if you can leave the dog home alone for a little while, perfect. Nice, quiet opportunity to be at home without constant information. However, if your dog has separation anxiety, or if you've gone to a family member's house and you're not sure how your dog's going to behave in that new environment, you probably want to take them with you. You might be able to leave your dogs in the car, which is quite a nice way of offering them a quiet break, as long as the road you've left them on is quiet, without sort of leaving them alone. However, if you can't do that safely, and if the road that you're going to leave them on is just as busy as the house is, you may as well take them with you. If you've got to have your dog with you all the time, then providing them quiet breaks in the house where they're sort of in a room, not necessarily alone, but with quiet members. So for example, in my household, we are a family of readers. There will at any point be someone curled up in the house reading. The dog could quite happily sit in that room with the person reading, and they will just sit and chill there. Whereas there will be like the TV room where people are drinking, people are laughing, people are playing games, things like that. So giving your dog a nice calm activity to do with the person that's just chilling out for a little bit is a really nice way of giving your dog that quiet break. You could give them something to do. If they're happy to just sort of nap, perfect, let them do that. Have it be a nice opportunity to get some uninterrupted rest in for them. But if they're going to struggle with that, especially if they want to be with someone else, then giving them something to do, like a chew, like a frozen Kong, licky mat, marrowbone, whatever it is that's going to keep them occupied for a little while, is going to be a nice way of letting them enjoy that break, but without stressing that they're missing out. Because some dogs do get that little bit of FOMO, and they do struggle to be left alone. For example, like if I left Pumba in here and went elsewhere in the house, he would be okay, but he'd rather be with me. So if I were to give him that break at Christmas, it would be easier if he was in the room with me, or if I was going to go and be one of the noisy ones, if he was with someone else and he had that nice activity to do that's going to keep him nice and quiet. Have a think about how you can plan for all of that before you go for Christmas. Is your household quite quiet? How are you going to give your dog that quiet break? Ideally, they should have a quiet break once a day, thought for as long as possible, but if it's a case of it's 15 minutes or nothing, 15 minutes is better than nothing. So it is a case of offer what you can and hope it's enough. You could also start to prep your dog for a little bit more noise, a little bit more action by having more guests over, having a slightly busier household in the run up to. And by in the run up to, I don't mean like the 3 days before you leave for Christmas. I mean now. Have someone over once a week that's gonna come in and just be a little bit noisier. Have your kids have some friends over. Take your dog somewhere busier, and do that once a week and sort of just build your dog up to those environments. Obviously, if your dog gets stressed by that, stop. And your expectation for Christmas should be keeping your dog calm and keeping them away from those noisy situations as much as you can. And you need to have a plan for that now. You need to know how you're going to communicate that to your family, because I love you all, family who may be seeing this, but dog trainers' families are some of the hardest families to train. I would far rather train a client than train my own family. As much as I love you all, if you're watching, training your own family is really, really hard. So you need to have clear expectations. If it's your house, say the dog is here, this is quiet time. If it's someone else's house, go, where can the dog go? Where are you happy for them to go? Is there somewhere I can give them a nice quiet spot? And if they say no, if they go, oh, actually, we're going to be using the whole house, we sort of need that space for this, or this room will be quiet at this time of day, then you need to make sure that you're working with that. And if they say no, it's like the whole house is going to be in use, the whole house is going to be busy, there's not going to be a single room that hasn't got someone staying in it, then you're going to need to figure out how you're going to give your dog that quiet time without being in the house, or by working with what your family can offer each day. And there's nothing wrong with giving quiet time, so like going out for a walk, sitting on a bench and scrolling through your phone for a little bit, reading a book for a little bit. Obviously the weather may not be on your side there, so if it's a case of your dog has quiet time in the garden for a little while, then that's absolutely fine as well. You just need to have a plan for that now, so that you can deal with any difficulties, you can deal with any awkward family politics, you can imagine everything that could go wrong to prevent your dog from having access to that quiet time, and prepare for that now, so that if someone goes, oh, I was going to go do that in there, you can swivel and go and do something else, because it's going to be something that your dog will need, especially if you're going away for a long period of time. And even more so if you are doing like events for Christmas with family and then events for New Year's Eve with family. If there's no quiet time in between those two things, that's a long period of time for your dog to have an increased noise level throughout. We tend to do one or the other, and if your dog is noise sensitive in terms of like fireworks at all, you really, really, really need to work on that. If they are noise sensitive, it may be worth reaching out to your vets and seeing if your vets can offer any medication short term for the Christmas season, so that if your dog is starting to struggle. However, that's not a long-term solution, and you should plan that next Christmas you have worked on it between now and next Christmas, so that next Christmas the medication isn't necessarily required. So have a think about what your plans are, what the difficulties could be for your dog in terms of noises, and how you're going to mitigate for that, and start actioning that plan now, not in a month's time.